Next up, Senator Grassley.
I've pressed the Justice Department to focus on competition in agriculture. I've pressed the division on various agriculture competition issues, including concerns about specific agriculture mergers, market consolidation, anti-competitive behavior. I've urged the Justice Department to coordinate with the Agriculture Department on antitrust issues and trends. More recently, I've sent letters requesting that the Antitrust Division look into cattle market concentration as well as the fertilizer industry. So my first question, Mr. Cantor, is just kind of asking for an update. I've recently heard from lamb and sheep producers in Iowa that packer concentration is eliminating any market for them. You know well my longstanding concern regarding cattle industry market concentration. In fact, we discussed this when you first talked to me. Could you give us an update on what the Antitrust Division is doing with respect to cattle industry inquiry and other segments of the meat industry?
Thank you, Senator. First, let me just acknowledge the leadership, heroic leadership that you've played in advocating for a competition to the benefit of farmers, growers, and ranchers, and we are listening. We brought, I think for the first time that we can find, the first packers and stockyards claim out of the Antitrust Division relating to competition, certainly in generations, if not ever. And we intend to use that tool, which is something that you've suggested, with greater frequency to protect farmers and ranchers. We are also ramping up our agriculture enforcement program, both with respect to mergers and consolidation as respect to conduct. While it be inappropriate for me to discuss specific investigations, I would like to, if you're inclined to reach out to your staff so that we can arrange a briefing and provide you with a more direct update with respect to the specific activities underway.
I think I'll do that. To both of you, I've focused a lot of my efforts on trying to ensure there's competition in prescription drugs and healthcare markets and pushing agencies to aggressively enforce antitrust laws against bad actors. I've raised concerns with both Justice and FTC about certain behavior in the healthcare and pharmaceutical industries that I heard could be anti-competitive. I've collaborated with Senator Klobuchar on a number of bills to go after abusive practices like the Stop Stalling Act and the Preserve Access to Affordable Generics and Biosimilar Act. Both bills have passed out of the Judiciary Committee. Senator Cantwell and I have a bill dealing with PBM conduct and transparency that was marked up in the Commerce Committee a few months ago. Could each of you give us an update on what the Antitrust Division and the Federal Trade Commission are doing to ensure that there is competition in the healthcare and drug markets? What are the most pervasive problems that you've seen?
Thanks, Senator, and thank you so much for your leadership in particular on this issue. I know you've long encouraged the FTC to vigorously investigate and scrutinize the practices of PBMs, and we really appreciate your leadership. So we're taking a holistic look at the entire prescription drug supply chain. Most recently, we moved forward with a market inquiry looking at the practices of these PBMs. We've heard a tremendous amount of concern about these middlemen and the perverse incentives that they can face, especially given the vertical integration that we've seen in this market, coupled with horizontal consolidation. We've heard enormous concern from independent pharmacies about DIR fees. We've heard concerns from patients, including those that rely on essential medicines like insulin, about how the practices of the PBMs could be depriving patients of access to this type of life-saving medicine. So we're looking at this very closely. We also recently put PBMs on notice about particular authorities that we have under the antitrust laws, but also under things like laws prohibiting commercial bribery, that certain practices that we've heard about, including rebating practices, could be susceptible to prosecution under that type of criminal bribery statute. So we're continuing to move forward with this work, and addressing high drug prices remains a top priority for the agency.
Mr. Cantor.
Thank you. In addition to many of the same efforts underway at the FTC, including vigorous scrutiny of mergers and other conduct, We have a vibrant criminal antitrust enforcement program, of which healthcare is a significant focus.
Just for a minute, I'd like to make a statement, Ms. Khan. We have another with Senator Cantwell that would direct the FTC to conduct a detailed study of the PBM industry and its impact on drug price competition. I'd been pushing the Federal Trade Commission for years to look into PBMs, so I'm pleased that finally the Federal Trade Commission has voted to conduct a 6B study on PBMs, but I want to make sure that this study will cover areas that I've identified in my bill as well, just in case we don't get the bill passed. So I just want to make sure that we can get this study done in a timely fashion.
Of course, and we'd be happy to have our staff connect with your team to make sure we're covering those issues.
Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you, Senator Grassley. Next up, Senator Whitehouse.
Mr. Cantor, we have been looking